Welcome to the OA Sponsorship Success Marathon. Thank you for joining us. My name is Francine, and I'm your moderator for this sponsorship success segment on when to start sponsoring, when to be sponsored. I would like to introduce Denise from Region 5, who will be qualifying for about 5 minutes and then sharing on this sponsorship topic for 10 minutes. At the end of her sharing, Denise will also give 2 questions for discussion or future consideration. Please go ahead, Denise.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Denise. I'm a food and sugar addict. To qualify, I have been a member of this fellowship for 16 years, coming in January 2001, and I have had about 10 years, a little over 10 years of abstinence from sugar, sugar-free, and chewing gum items. I have a sponsor today. I'm actually on my second sponsor. In terms of release of weight, I was not at my highest weight when I came to program. That was somewhere over 250 pounds. But since coming to OA and achieving abstinence, I have been able to release between 40 and 50 pounds. The questions, the subjects I'll be speaking on relate to when to start sponsoring and when to be sponsored. And the first question is what I'd like to begin with, when to start sponsoring. My experience with this one, I waited about 5 years before I even broached the subject with my sponsor, and I think she was getting a bit impatient with me. And I did a lot of that out of fear. So when the time finally came for me to be brave enough to ask her, when do you think I should start sponsoring? She laughed very lovingly and said she thought I could sponsor at any time through the level of experience that I have, the level of recovery that I have. And I would refer you to the OA booklet, the pamphlet called A Guide for Sponsors, pages 4 and 5 specifically. She suggested that I pray, that I ask my higher power, who for me is God, for his will, and to remove that fear, and to know that I was not in charge of my sponsee's recovery. What I was charged with was sharing my experience, strength, and hope. That has been successful advice for me. That is the advice that I give to my sponsees. When they achieve a certain level of recovery, whether that be abstinence or whether they have worked through steps 1, 2, and 3, that I start to encourage them to begin sponsoring, offer themselves as a sponsor. The second question of when to be sponsored is also an interesting question for me. As a newcomer to OA, I waited about a month before I decided that maybe I needed a sponsor. I think it took me about 2 meetings just to decide that OA was going to work for me because all of you shared your hope. And that was something I did not have when I came to program. But if a newcomer is willing to commit to the program, then they need to be getting a sponsor, and that is my own opinion. I thought I could work through things on my own, that I did not need someone else's help. And referring to a question that was already asked, what would my recovery look like without a sponsor, I doubt that I would still be in the rooms. Getting a sponsor does not mean a lifelong commitment. It doesn't mean that this is the only person I can ever ask for help. It doesn't mean that I cannot break up with them if it's not working for me. It's my recovery, and I have a responsibility to find the right person who will help me. I would also like to say that if someone has left the program and is returning to OA after a relapse, I would encourage them to get a sponsor right away. Again, trying to do this on our own, in my experience, has not been successful. A couple of other challenges that I have faced in my recovery have caused me to seek someone else to sponsor me besides what I'll call my regular sponsor. I was presented a life challenge a few years ago with providing caregiving for an elderly parent. That was something I had never experienced before, felt totally unprepared for, and it was beginning to affect my own recovery and my own abstinence. And I heard someone share at an OA event that she had had some experience with caregiving for an elderly parent. And I ended up calling her whenever I would hit some roadblocks or some challenges in that caregiving role and seek her experience, strength, and hope. And I called her my mom sponsor because she provided some direction and her own experience for me and helped me feel that I was not alone. And it brought some stability back to my program again. I also have experienced some health changes, and those prompted my medical doctor to encourage me to change my food plan. Changing my food plan was a challenge for me because I honestly did not know how to do it. But there was someone in program that was attending a meeting that I went to, and she had a great deal of peace and serenity about her food. So I asked her specifically to work with me and to sponsor me as a food sponsor. That relationship has been ongoing for a while now. She and I worked through a great deal of analysis, in-depth searching and questioning of what I was eating and when I was eating it and how I was eating it, and also adjustments to the food plan to coincide with the direction my doctor had given me. All of that resulted in some behavior changes and some additional food items that I have let go of from my food plan to where I have a level of peace and serenity most days about my food. They weren't things a year and a half ago that I thought I would ever do. That includes weighing and measuring everything and writing it all down, reporting it to someone. And most recently, actually, for me, this was a big step, was actually planning my food in advance. Those are actions that I swore I would never do when I came into program, but through prayer and my higher power granting me the willingness and the ability to listen to a sponsor and a food sponsor and a mom sponsor, I've been able to make changes through the years. The questions that I would like to offer for your consideration: how do you know if you're ready to sponsor? And the second question, how many sponsees should you have? And I'll pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise, for sharing. The opinions expressed here today are those of individual OA members and do not represent OA as a whole. Please remember that we are self-supporting through our own contributions. Please use special workshop meeting number 82278 when making your contribution. The World Service Office needs our support to continue to serve our fellowship. Go to www.oa.org and click on Contributions. Thank you for helping us carry the message.